A lot of ways to try to make it work, but at the end of the day, you can only control yourself and how you react to things. I think that really helps in the happiness factor, because if you are, depending on other people, then you might not get what you want, and then you end up being unhappy. Welcome back to our Grit to Great. Today's session is deeply personal one for me. I was speaking with my coach recently about the cycle of success and failure, and he asked me a question. His question was, who actually determines if you are a success or a failure? Because I think a lot of time when we do, our day-to-day, our work, our career, everything is really determined by what people say, like, okay, this is what success is, this is what failure, and all of those things. And he said after that, I would think that the most important person to decide that and define what is success or failure is yourself. And that sort of like got stuck with me. And for so long, we've been doing it in and out that what he said really sort of like made me think. And I think the reason that is important to note, because it affects what you think about, what is happiness. To deep dive into this, I've invited someone who's seen my journey, right? From the very beginning. David and I worked together nearly 20 years ago. When I was still in my early 20s, David was in Microsoft. And recently we grabbed coffee, chatted about life, our journey, where we are today. And David said this to me: your value is not defined by how many awards you win. And that sort of like really sparked this entire episode. So, David, thank you so much. It's so good to have you here. And before we get into, the truth, for those who don't know you, your incredible career, 9 years in Microsoft, to Netflix, to Razer, and you just celebrated your 5th year anniversary at Viber. Could you share a little bit about yourself?
So again, my name is David. Let me just introduce in a way that I was actually formerly from Hong Kong. You probably don't hear the accents anymore. I'm full Singaporean, served the army here, spent for the last 30 over years working in the region in Singapore. And of course, I crossed paths with your leader here, and there was a lot of fantastic things she has done. In fact, I would just highlight one thing I mentioned to her. I think she has grown such an amazing career. I'm looking at her to learn from her instead of myself. So I'm already going into a retirement age, and hopefully I don't look like one, but I am. So
You don't look like one, David.
I am. Interestingly, I'll tell you offline something else. A headhunter actually just spoke to me this morning, and they were shocked with my age, actually. Anyway, coming back to the topics, just to give a very different way of illustrating my, I won't call it my career, I would say my learning journey. I wouldn't start with the places that I was or the title that I held. I would say I was privileged and blessed to be in a position to solve very strategic problems on this organization had. For example, I was mostly in incubation business, all businesses going through a major reset. And I love that challenge. And I will explain a little bit why I describe it in such a way. When I was in Singtel, I started off in a place where I really built up what we call data. I don't know how many of you, I know all of you are very young. I'm probably a couple of generations away, where we have to build what we used to call GPRS. That's even before 3G. I was at that age to start something very new. And when I moved to Samsung, they were battling with a brand some of you might not even know, but I know this team would know. They were battling with Nokia and Sony. And Korean brand at the time was treated as people that just copy other bigger brands from Japan or from the Western world. When I moved on to Microsoft, literally built the really first smartphone before iPhone even existed. When I moved to Netflix, You'll be surprised that we have to lock on doors where people don't even know what Netflix was. Or they would say that why would they want to work with a company that was very US based and not the rest of the world? And my move to Razer is to build esports into truly a sports where my tasks were purely to deliver that into Southeast Asian game, the first ever esports sanctioned by Olympics. Literally, an esports person actually get medals for the first time in the world. And of course, right now where I am is to really drive a messenger to a much different level for both businesses and individual usage, something that we've never done before. So I'm really privileged to be in a position to do all this, to really look into not exactly how much experience I have, but what is my value into those situations.
Would you be able to elaborate a little bit about, what you said to me, what you meant by your value is not defined by how many awards that you win?
So again, as you say, as you mentioned early on, most of us in the corporate world, we are measured by matrix, ROI, how many sales you have gained in a year, what are the targets. All this will never be ending. And does it give you satisfaction by doing more and more? Just now we talked about Viber did pretty well last year. I would just be landed with even more target this year. Does this give you satisfactions? No, not at all. Yes, it gives us a challenge to increase my value into how do we solve those problems or get to where we want to go. But I will bring experience to where I am now. When I first joined Rakuten Viber, I was drawn to this job. To be honest with you, I didn't even know what Viber was. They came to me, I was like, can you say that again? Because Singapore, we don't really use Viber as much, but it's a lot in other emerging countries. I know Rakuten somehow, but not Viber. And my ex-CMO literally said, David, I need someone with diverse background to manage the team better. That's my first goal for the first 12 months. I was like, okay, what happened? What is the challenge here? What was the challenge there? And for me, the current biggest satisfaction that I have now is how much my team has grown. I inherited 70% of the current team. Yes, the performance, I let go some of them, but I'm very glad that 70% of the original team are still with me, and they've grown over the 5 years. No matter we have hit targets every year, what my celebration is how much my team has grown. And true indeed, we don't talk about this much. We honestly, that gives me every night about how well an individual has stepped out on the comfort zone. In fact, I have one creative specialist, literally just doing creative. She is our regional PR lead and one of the top performer globally, just in the last 5 years. Something that she didn't even understand on PR. Now, those are my satisfaction. Those are perhaps I'm drawing from my learning experience as a father of 2 boys. How do I grow these good talents? Believing that there always going to be talent in them. They might not have recognized it, might not have realized it. I think this is the value that I see. And I think at the end of the day, I think that's what my leadership see in me as well. Do I give the best idea to drive sales? Do I get the best idea marketing? No, but I think I empower my team, really able to help them to realize their talents, and they would really perform. And I think that's the part of my value that I see. I think that's what I said to Faye is, does the award really measure much? Yeah, I think important in the creative ecosystem. I fully understand. I don't undermine those awards. But I think the important to her is I think she has done even more amazing things in a lot of other ways, daily engaging the team, such a happy team, even based on the over midnight kind of work that you have done. So this should be a credit back to you. You might not realize it, but I think it's amazing that you build a team to such a size, to such a capability, and such energy. I don't think we should overlook that at all. In fact, I think that's more important than you winning awards. So that's how I want to qualify how much you have done for the team.
Thank you so much, David. That was really kind words. I think when you said that, it was just like, I didn't realize it. I think a lot of time we work so much and we were doing the work to get it done, to achieve all of these things. We forget all of these things that we've done. And so to have leader like yourself to be able to see value of people, and that's how you found talents like the creative person that you got and said, hey, they themselves might not know that they can do the job, but you saw in her ability, and that's why you gave her that role. And I think that's what, as leaders, we just want to be able to also see what are the values, what are the talent from people they may not even recognize themselves. And as good leaders, I think we need to be able to help them see that and realize that. So I remember you were launching Windows Phone at that time, right? And I don't know if
What amazing times.
use Windows Phone, And it was you were going to launch it in APAC. And I sort of come up with this concept of building a 40-foot container that would go on tour, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand. And we built this, sort of experience area where people could go in and experience the phone and, eventually hoping for them to get the phone, right? And, we, over the course of doing all of these things, I was still in my early 20s. I think at that time I was like maybe 23, 24. And I was tasked to be in charge of this activation, and I was traveling to all of these places to ensure that the activation went well. And so one of the, there's a lot of dramas that went, of course, but one particular one that I remembered was that 48 hours before the actual event, this was in Indonesia, the container got stuck in custom. I didn't want to worry you, so I didn't tell you. I think I told you later on after, and I was panicking. I called my boss, and we were brainstorming. Okay, let's try this, let's try that, and doing all of these things. And it's like everything that he suggested, I've already done. So there was no other way. And he was like, "Okay, figure it out." So I was so stressed out. I called my dad, my late dad. And for those who don't know, my dad, my late dad, he's very smart. He was a ship captain and navigating officer, and he's always very wise. But the thing is, he's always giving me advice that I don't get at that point. And it's always very like philosophical, like Yoda kind of advice. So when I called him, I was panicking, or what do I do? And he said, when there's a problem, there's a solution. I was like, what is the solution? It was crazy. Anyway, I figured it out, eventually after lots of crying. David, you didn't know, but lots of crying, trying to get this out. And I did it, right? It managed to get it out, get it set up, and all of those things. And the whole end result was great. Lots of people came in. It was a successful event. But the behind the scenes to get there, you were not aware because you were my client and I wanted to make sure everything was done right. So you didn't know it was like all the dramas. I think I told you maybe later on when it was already done, right? But yeah, I think the moral of the story here is that I think the most important thing is whenever you're faced with challenges, we always think about, why does it happen to me? And every time you face with these kind of challenges, it chip away your confidence, right? And the more you do it, the more you feel that you are not able to succeed in things. But the more you do it and you're able to do it, then it becomes stronger. It's like muscle, right? To me, it's like the inside job, right? Which is your mindset. That helped me over the years to build resilience. David, you've seen so many of these activations, right? How important is it for us to acknowledge that the true value isn't just the final, right? It is the mental grit that it took, right, to navigate all of those unseen challenges. So how do you define a win now that nobody, sees it?
So first of all, thank you for bringing all the great memories that we had. I think just last year I met up my ex-colleague from Microsoft. In fact, one of them did mention about this landmark exercise that we did. All the old Microsoft guys that we had, and they say that, hey, that was one hell of execution that we had. So thank you for working this out behind the scene, and we only saw success in front, right? And you spare me with all the trouble that we've gone through. So appreciate that. I think first we talk about having all these challenges at work or in personal life, if you may. Is the very process of you recognizing the problem. And secondly, it's not just about finding a solutions. I think it's the whole process of being able to understand if you have no challenges at all, I don't think you will be ever evolving at all. There's no evolutions in terms of what we do, or there's never going to be new ideas. All these challenges, hurdles, or difficulties, or sometimes even internal red tapes of politics, and you might call, are really the part where make us stronger, make us smarter in a big way. And I've seen not just operational issues, people issues, and they overcome it, right? So the thing is, I told my team in this way. I say I want to run a team that we must have reasonable level of stress. And if you ask me to choose in a black and white situation, I would have work stress, which challenges us, make us think smarter, make us know how to navigate, but as much as possible, not to have people stress. I think work stress is fine because that helps us to evolve. And in fact, I told you months back, there was headhunter to talk to me about what is my thinking about marketing. I say marketing is never be from a textbook, because every challenge we have, every year we look at the challenge in terms of different businesses, it always going to be different. There's never one formula. How do we evolve? Leadership is a learning journey, and you never stay still. And that's exactly, if you're humble enough to know that you do not know everything, that's the first step to be a great leader. Because if you think you know everything, yeah, I think one day you realize that you're not empowering your team, you're not evolving, and you're not taking challenges as well, because you thought you know everything. So to be a leader to anyone, I'm sure all of you have leadership in yourself in whichever position you're in. Is about learning, and learning can only happen when you take on challenges. So if you understand this is a process for you to evolve and be better at what you do, and be a better for the betterment of yourself, I think taking on challenges had a whole lot different perspective, right? So to me, I always talk to my team, if you don't expect any challenges, you will only be stagnant, right? And I think you become so overly comfortable and you're not improving or evolving at all. So if you start with the right mindset, I think you see challenge in a different way. So I know there are tougher ones, there are easier ones, but I think that's how we strengthen, as you say, your muscles, right? You don't train them, you don't develop them. So I think this is a very important part. I'm still learning every day. I still jump on problems. So these are things I keep reminding myself, and at the same time reminding my team. We are learning every day. In fact, I depend on them, and they should evolve and be an expert and be a specialist in many ways. So if a leader who just think that they know everything, I do not think they're a great leader. Actually, one of the major features that Rakuten Viber has now came from an intern in my team. It was a brainstorm. This guy is actually a university grad from Myanmar, and is going through some master degree in US now. He just brainstormed it, and when I look at it, I say this is risky but very interesting. And this has been developed in one of the global features with more than 50 people looking after it now. Just think about that, because don't undermine anyone, because they do see a different perspective. And some of my staff say, David, are you kidding? You're getting an idea from an intern. I say, why not? So
exactly.
just want everyone to know that don't undermine yourself. You're empowered, and do something crazy. Of course, we use data point to prove it works. So I just want to highlight that. It was some great example of the guy, and he's still talking to me while he's doing his master.
There was one thing that you said, not good to have people stressed. So I know, sometimes people stress. It's not like we want to have people stress, but it just show up
Yes,
as a
yes.
people stress. So any advice there, David? Because I think one of the things that we always link ourselves to happiness is when somebody pisses you off, you're upset about something, and somebody just annoys you, and it affects your happiness. How do you manage that?
I would be very candid in a way that the most people stress environment I had usually is created by the complexity of the structure, usually. And that's again, everyone has a self-defense mechanism. It's inevitable. Everyone want to protect, so protect their responsibility, and usually that came from that. I was able to be more mature. Unfortunately, I kind of mature late in my life. I say I'm already close to retirement age. I kind of just mature recently in a way that I could apply some of this maturity in my current job. Yes, I have only 12 people. I do have dotted line people in the rest of other world. But when you look at it, these 12 people of different levels, um, I exercise the part of very, very open, which something that I learned from Netflix. The extreme honesty and candid, uh, and for us to have open conversations, no matter how difficult the situation is. I would say that I could save 70% of my team since I inherited them. I was able to open up a lot of minds, open up for them to be honest with me about their weakness, what were the issue they face with other people. And when the open conversation happens, it eases out and complete sometimes erase the human politics or the human conflict. Of course, you need people to grow. And that very example on my current PR lead, she was very insecure, and she wouldn't know what to do. But when I opened her up and when she started to have open conversation, not just with me, but with her fellow colleagues, she grew really, really well. I honestly, some people call me, she might be even my what called adopted daughter in a way. So having open conversation is never easy because I think that's the only part. In fact, my global headquarters actually was very uncomfortable while I'm practicing the APAC. And right now, they have made it into official process. And I said, giving feedback and having open conversation is not a process, it's a culture. So if you have the culture to have this open conversation, if you have concern, bring it up. Of course, I would acknowledge that there are certain cultures are very conservative. There are certain cultures are not going straight into the point that's difficult to discuss. But I think we should persist. I think I'm proud of the current APAC team where I was told that my team in the past was very silo. They were not vocal about things. And now I think the global team is pretty scared of us because we are very vocal, very open. But at the same time, we're also taking feedback as well. So they can be vocal with us. I think that eases out a lot of human conflicts and human politics. Again, this is my humble experience. I'm sure there are other ways, but to me, it has to build into the culture of the organizations. I think I managed to avoid most of the human stress that we have.
Thanks, David. I think, yeah, definitely. This is something that, we try to create a safe environment for people to be able to be vocal and speak up. But like you said, David, it's the culture. Sometimes people just feel a little bit more reserved. They may not be, even though if the environment is still, conducive, people might just not feel comfortable. So it is a responsibility of everybody who is working with everybody else to be mindful, to have the empathy, to sort of really understand, read between the lines of what's happening, if somebody is
Exactly.
certain ways and stuff like that. And I think, like you said earlier, which I really like, is that you said people are all doing their job and they're trying to protect that. And so that means that sometimes the way they react to things and the way that they do things is based on that, right? It's
Correct.
not about you at all. But
Exactly.
when we interact with people, we always, why is this person this way with me? Why is this person reacting this way? but actually to your point that they are just trying to protect themselves, and and so by having that empathy and understanding, that helps us. I know it's not always easy. You go with the first route of let's have a conversation, but if they don't, I think the one thing that you can do is you cannot control other people, how they feel, how they react, how they think. You may have the best intention, you may want to work, but if other people, are not, then it is outside of your control. So just by understanding that you can only control your emotions, your response, and how you feel, and how you want to do things, and how you take things, no matter what the others are reacting to or is reacting to you, right? So to me, I think that, like you said, there are a lot of ways to try to make it work. But at the end of the day, just know this: you can only control yourself and how you react to things. I think that really helps in the happiness factor, because if you are, depending on other people, then you might not get what you want, and then you end up being unhappy, So
Exactly.
the control of just
Very
what.
well said. I love how you said it. Very well said. And while you're saying it, I actually reflect upon how I learn from my son, right? And again, the youngsters has a very strong mind, very different. Sometimes I don't even understand the language. But by knowing what they want to do first, and it's not I'm the father, but do I know everything? Again, I don't. But you also need to understand where it's coming from. In fact, I'm just trying to learn exactly what you said. It's very important, and I think you said it really, really well. You need to then put yourself in the shoes. Easy said than done, but I think that's a great start to understand each other.
With things that you've done, behind the scenes and people don't necessarily see it, how do you maintain that deep trust in yourself, in your decisions, rather than to look for external validation?
I think trust is a term that is not stagnant, right? You will come with the times that you started to doubt. But as you said, the confidence is something you have to understand what values you're putting on, and not what you are just achieving based on those, I would call it artificial goals, right? So to me, if you look at trust, it's about you can find some anchor points. I do tend to look at anchor points. One of my anchors is my staff instead of how much sales we gain. I anchored something that I believe greater foundations, even as we fail a project. In fact, I just spoke to another staff of mine. We were dealing with a very huge brand in Philippines, and the conversation was going extremely well. And suddenly it just fell true. And she was devastated. I was devastated. Do I lose my trust with my staff? However, it is a struggle for me to find ways to encourage her, telling her not just because the deal didn't get through, but rather what she has built towards that. So the trust is to anchor on a point where you believe that it is definitely with better foundation, and also not trust just because this person has done the deal before. So to me, I do anchor onto something to me that is more permanent, that has better foundation to it than some of the artificial goal. Because I think the trust or the confidence, you lose it because you miss something. So to me, I do anchor that. I think it's a process that I've gained over the years, that I don't look at certain things, but look at how we get there. I think that's more important. And I strongly believe she will do an even greater job. There will be so many deals, right? Again, how do you accept failure, where failure is only a precursor of success? So to me, I think that's the part where we often talk about it, but we don't put that into actual practice. So never see a failure as something that we have to, no, we have to blame each other. I think that is a good step to a greater success. And I anchor on my staff. I think that's also building a huge confidence in them. And that has really helped me in doing a lot of other things. Just like, as I mentioned, I will always refer back to my two boys. Love them very much. And the way they are, I don't have to push them to ask them to do exactly what I ask them to do, because I do want to empower them to make mistakes and they get better. I think this is the growing part of it that really give me a lot of confident and trust in myself doing what I do.
Mm. I like what you said about how do you accept your failure. I think over the course of my career, I failed so many times. You know, there's so many things that I failed at, but I keep at it. I think the one thing that you said was progressed because you learned, right? And any successful people that we know as well, they fail many times, but they persevere. They learn from their mistake. They learn and learn and learn as they fail, and then they become better, right? So I think
Exactly.
to acknowledge the progress is better than just to accept the end result, right? I think that's
Correct.
how you moved. You keep
Exactly.
continuing to move forward and not just, blame yourself. It's like, well, why am I a failure and all of those things.
You actually
Yes.
appreciate your failure, and then that's the only way for you to learn. That's the only way. I think this statement sounds really strange. You are where you are because you fail,
Yes.
right? You achieve so much because you fail.
I like
I
that.
think that's something that we need to acknowledge.
Happiness to ROI is being at peace with everything you do, accept everything, right? Whether you win or lose or fail, you can incredibly have high standards, but you need to let go of things that aren't serving you anymore, right? And letting go doesn't mean that you're giving up. It just means that you're protecting your peace and you are going to be a better leader by learning and progressing, to whatever it is that you want to get. So, David, thank you for being my truth anchor today. One thing that you think everyone listening would like to know about their unseen value, how do they get to really, understand what is it that is their unseen value?
I know this may sound cliche, and you actually mentioned it. What makes you really happy, right? Is it your bonus? No, you're happy for a moment where you can spend it, makes you having everlasting or a more longevity in your happiness. It's not easy to find, and usually many will come to materials happiness. I don't think they ever. I don't want this to be a very zen discussion. I found my happiness through my team and through the growth of people. And it took me a long time to say I just kind of mature not too long ago. And I see that. And I'm just when I finish the session, I'm going to meet up with my Microsoft team. They are still with me. Yeah, and that gave me that much of that I was blessed with them. They grew with me. I think those are the things that I find happiness. My question is, what is yours?
David, any last thoughts?
No, I think my last thought is I'm really happy for you and your team. Very energetic team. People are very open to discuss. That's amazing start on the first place. You have such a large team, and it's not easy to do that. So first thing, congratulations, pay to yourself and the rest of the team, right? To me, this is amazing. As I say, I'm here just as an observer to share. I'm never better than anyone that I know of. So keep learning, keep evolving, take some risks, and enjoy the process. I think this is something that I do every day until I retire.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David. I will thank you, everyone. I will leave this at the end of the session, which is be kind to yourself. Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend. Take care.